Supported layer. Layer lowdown. This layer discusses the importance of showing empathy and how to help others work through problems. When helping someone work through a challenging situation, just pointing out their flaws may not get you very far. You need to put yourself in their shoes. Into the layer. So I used a decent portion of this book tearing apart certain phrases people say and the concept of minimizing. However, I'm big on practicing what I preach. I have to back up my words now by showing how I actually put what I'm telling society to do and not to do into practice. I'll do this now. Whenever any of my mentees have had a problem, there have been several times when we were able to talk about it and work through it. Has it always been perfect? Absolutely not. But the same strategies I've been discussing throughout this book have been the same strategies I've been using. Out of respect for my mentees, I don't want to give deep details about incidents that have happened, which I handled, but there have been times when my mentees would get really angry about something and start swearing, even sometimes breaking things. My method was not to berate or shame them. Society has done that enough. My method was to, 1, calmly approach them. When my mentees are upset, sometimes they may be in tears. No matter what they did, it is not time for me to get into their face and tell them what's what. 2, let them know I am here to talk if they need to. This is actually something I personally struggle with. I'm always in such a hurry to get to the processing part right away and talk things out so I can help them feel better. But at times they may not be ready, and that is something that needs to be respected. If at that moment they are not doing anything to hurt anyone or themselves, or doing something they are not supposed to, they deserve to have that space in a safe area. 3, once the wall is broken, I'll ask what's wrong. Now I can gently ask them what's wrong or ask them to explain things from their perspective. 4, truly listen to them. This is not a time to talk or think about what perspective I have. It is a time to listen to their words and look at things from their point of view. 5, validate their perspective. Show them I understand their feelings by paraphrasing what they said and thinking about how I can relate to their feelings in some way, if any, about the situation. Even if I can't relate to it, that's okay. A phrase like, I can imagine what that's like, or I really wish I could relate to this, depending on the situation, goes a long way. In my last book, I discussed how just saying, I understand, but isn't enough. Show them you understand. Validating doesn't mean you are excusing the behavior. It just shows you understand where the behavior and frustration come from. 6, explain my take. Now, this is the time to say my side and explain how I saw the situation or what I heard from others. 7, explain what they did wrong. This is the time where I can point out what they did wrong and how it affected the other person or people involved. 8, make sure they are able to understand my perspective. Oh yeah, it's not going to be all kittens and cupcakes for them. They now need to understand where I'm coming from. Questions such as, does where I'm coming from make sense, can go a long way. 9, resolution. Whether apologies need to be exchanged by both parties or whether only the person I'm speaking to needs to apologize, this is the time where all that happens. However, the apologies need to be sincere, otherwise the resolution has truly not taken place. 10, praise. Just like problems can't all be generalized and put into categories, the same applies to accomplishments. For some of my mentees, apologizing can be hard. When they sincerely apologize, whether it's to the side or right in the moment, praise needs to be given. Once this is done, we can move on. In no way, shape, or form am I implying that this is always done successfully. Sometimes my mentees aren't even in the wrong. Sometimes something happens to them that upsets them and they need to talk. This is the general idea and progression. But what I will say is that validation is a must. It would be very unfair for me to just explain my perspective to my mentees and just expect them to see things my way. It doesn't work for them, and it didn't work for my students at the E-Place. It can be a draining process, but it is so worth it, especially when I can have a breakthrough resolution moment with the kids I work with. I'd almost go as far as to say it's just as rewarding or sometimes even more rewarding than the volunteer breakthroughs I discussed in the last layer. Here's what I want people to understand. These teachings and lessons, as well as the methods I use for the kids I work with, aren't really coming from heavy-duty research. I didn't read this in a book or any college database. This is coming from me, Brandon Adjoumani. I'm taking the painful, traumatic, hurtful experiences I had from my youth, adolescence, and beyond. I applied how I felt when I was talked to or treated unfairly and used that to guide how I help these kids. That's why I don't minimize. That's why I don't compare. I know what it feels like. Throughout school, I know what it's like to be picked on, bullied, punched, spat on, kicked, and so much more. I know the level of frustration it can bring onto a child. I remember in 3rd grade telling a very inappropriate story about dolphins to be funny. After 4th grade, I left the school. I came back in 8th grade. From 8th grade into freshman year of high school, the same students in 3rd grade regularly brought up the story and made fun of me. I know what it's like to be isolated at lunch. I know what it's like to be the teacher's partner in class because nobody wants to work with you. It truly is life-shattering beyond belief. That's why I'm able to do what I do. My pain has become my weapon of peace and repair for these kids. The pain exists and it hurts, but without it, I don't know if I'd be as passionate about my work as I am now.